One of these scholars was Andreas Vesalius. Vesalius was born in 1514 in Belgium. His father was an apothecary. His grandfather was a doctor. Even as a boy, Vesalius used to trap small animals near his home so he could dissect them. By the age of 23, he was professor of anatomy at the University of Padua in Italy. At first, like every other student, he used Galen's work and followed it closely. Aged 19, he even stole the skeleton of a hanged convict to keep in his room. But the more he saw, the more he came to realise that Galen had actually made mistakes.
Stop it, you're annoying me.
I know, and it's especially annoying because I'm right.
You are not right.
I don't know what it would take to convince you. If Galen said we had 3 arms, would you believe him? He says the human jawbone has 2 bones. Now, the monkey's jawbone, I grant you, has 2 bones, but the human jawbone has 1. Look at it.
In 1540, for 8 months, Vesalius shared a room with a student from England called John Keyes. Keyes firmly believed in Galen's work and thought Vesalius was wrong to disagree. For Keyes, any mistakes in Galen were mistakes made by translators or copyists, not by Galen himself.
I had a letter from Bologna this morning. They have another manuscript to show me. Definitely Galen. Just a scrap, 2 or 3 sides, but it's old.
In Greek?
In Greek, yes. Perhaps his original text.
If I had money for every time you said that. I mean, I don't want to laugh, but this is just childish. We've versions of Galen in Arabic, we've versions of Galen in Latin, and everyone says 2 bones in the jawbone. You say they are written by some illiterate monk in some monastery where they hardly know enough Latin to say grace. Well, maybe, but everyone, if you ever find this precious original, it will say 2 bones in the jawbone. I wonder how your pig-headed arrogance will stand up then.
Perhaps Keyes was right to defend Galen. Galen had been copied and recopied in Arabic and Latin for centuries. Until now, no one had bothered to track down Galen's original Greek work. But Keyes' argument with Vesalius was more than just a disagreement about translations. Vesalius was asking him to question the faith in the ancients, which had been unquestioned for centuries. Galen was the authority. This is what Keyes said about Galen.
Galen and Hippocrates brought the science of medicine to perfection. Hippocrates, so Galen tells us, found out the method of healing people, while Galen made everything straight and true, just like a Roman emperor laying out a Roman road.
To criticise Galen was professionally dangerous. At first, Vesalius kept his ideas to himself, but as he grew more certain, he began to share his claims with his students.
He said, from his reading, that perhaps Galen never actually performed a human dissection. He says Galen would only have learned bits of anatomy. The stomach he saw in Egypt, and when he was working as a doctor in the gladiator school, he would have seen some deep wounds. But for the rest, he must have relied on animals. And that explains his mistakes.
But he spells out the differences between people and animals. The fingers of a monkey, huh? The knee joint.
Yes, exactly, but you see, those examples you can see from the outside. You don't need to dissect. But when he writes of the kidney, and he says the left kidney is below the right, it's obvious he's talking about an ape. And because he did not dissect humans, he did not know that with humans it is different.
Unlike Galen, Vesalius was able to carry out many dissections. He could do what Galen hadn't been able to. He could provide an accurate map of the inside of the entire human body. Very soon, Vesalius also changed the way dissections were carried out. This picture shows the old way. A senior student sits on high, reading from Galen. The actual dissection, the cutting of the body, is left to a surgeon, while the professor simply points things out and discusses them. Vesalius criticised this method. He wrote,
The professors have never used a knife, except at a dinner table. They repeat things they've never seen, but just memorize from other people's books. The students have to fight for a good view, but end up seeing less than they could at some butcher's stall. It's like watching someone else drink when you're thirsty.
In 1540, Vesalius was asked to carry out a dissection in Bologna. One member of the audience, the German student Baldassar Hessler, took notes. His account and this picture show how Vesalius broke the rules.
Vesalius was the demonstrator, but right from the start he ignored the professor and the old men at the back and gave a lecture of his own. He invited us to gather round to see, even to touch, wonders we'd never experienced. He'd brought a skeleton into the room. He showed us the muscle in the corpse, and then on the skeleton, how the muscle moves the bone. And the professor butts in and says how these things are not the opinion of Galen, but we are seeing with our own eyes. And it was wonderful to see.
In 1543, still just 28 years old, Vesalius published his masterpiece, the Fabrica, a complete map of the human body. The bones, the muscles, the veins and arteries and nerves and organs, illustrated by artists in the new realistic style. The book was printed and read widely. Within a year or two, every medical student in Western Europe would see, for the first time, the body as it actually was. It didn't explain what caused ill health, but it helped the next generation of scientists to make new discoveries about the body. For traditional followers of Galen, the book was dangerous. Vesalius' old teacher, Gunther von Andernach, wrote that Vesalius should be punished by the emperor for the terrible things he was saying. But Vesalius won. The emperor ignored Andernach and appointed Vesalius as his physician.